goddess, maiden, mother, crone, womb of the universe, source of life, creator and destroyer of forms. She is the fortune all men see, creator and destroyer of forms. She is the fortune all men see. Jack was going along the mountain road, seeking his fortune. It was the same Jack, but a different one too. And as he went, he met, coming the other way, an old woman. It was a different old woman, but the same one too. Threefold goddess, maiden, mother, crone. Sing it with me. Womb of the universe. Womb of the universe, source of life, creator, creator and destroyer of forms. She is the fortune all men see, creator and destroyer of forms. She is the fortune all men see. Old woman, said Jack, there's something heavy on your back. Would you like some help with your burden? And the old woman looked up at Jack. Sure enough, there was a tower of stuff upon her back, piled higher than she was herself, and she bent low to the ground, almost double. But she cocked one cold blue eye up in his face, and she said, yes, young man, you are here to help me. And there was a flash of light, and Jack was on that old woman's back, along with the rest of that trash, and they were hurtling down at quite a pace, down the tunnel to the other world. They came to a long, flat plain where there was a cauldron of iron bubbling away, and a fire beneath, and cords of wood stacked beside, and she dumped Jack off onto the ground. She said, stir the pot, young man, for a year and a day, while I go up to the world above and collect everything with any power or wisdom or knowledge or healing about it. And I'm dumping it in the pot, and at the end of a year and one day I will drink what is left, and I will have all the power and the wisdom and the knowledge in the world. So Jack did. He saw no way out. He stood on a stump and took a paddle in his hand, and he stirred the pot while an old blind man, who may, for all we know, have been Jack's father, he never knew, he never asked, was feeding the fire silently. Well, at the end of a year, that old woman had collected everything on the surface of the earth with any healing or knowledge or power or wisdom in it, and she went up for one more day just to make sure she hadn't missed a thing. And on that day, as Jack stirred what was left in the pot, and there wasn't much, there was very, very little. It was hard even to stir, it was so little. And the old man, whether by accident or design, got the fire too hot, because as the drops melted down to the last 6, 3 of those drops spattered and leaped up over the rim of the pot, landed on Jack's arm. Ah! And he bit himself from the skin to the flesh, from the flesh to the bone, from the bone to the marrow, and when he did, he knew everything. All the power and knowledge and wisdom in the world went right coursing through his body and his soul, and he knew that that old woman was coming for him, and so he lit out of there. Well, she came down, she saw Jack gone, she saw the old man huddled by the pot, and she leaped up onto the stump, and she saw 3 drops left. She scraped them up with her fingernails and bit them to the quick, and right away she knew they were the wrong 3. And Jack had her knowledge and her wisdom and power, and she lit out after him. Well, Jack knew she was after him, and so he turned himself into a mole and burrowed up through the earth. But she turned herself into a ferret, and she burrowed behind him. She was about to catch him when Jack burst through the surface of the earth and turned himself into a sparrow and flew up through the air. But she turned herself into a hawk and flew after him. She was about to catch him when Jack turned himself into a salmon and fell into the river and swam upstream. But she turned herself into an otter and followed the faster. She was about to catch him when Jack broke the surface of the river, turned himself into a swallow, and flew this way and that, darting through the air. But she leaped and turned herself into a falcon and followed the faster. She was about to catch him when Jack flew over a field of barley and turned himself into one barley groat and fell down into the field amidst all the other grains of barley. But she turned herself into a banty hen, and she pecked up all the grains of barley until she pecked up Jack. And then she turned herself into her rightful form and waited for her knowledge to come to her. But it didn't come. And 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 all of a sudden, the waters broke, and wah! Out of her came Jack as a baby. With all her knowledge and wisdom and power still intact inside of him. And it drove her crazy. She wanted to grab him up. She wanted to throttle him. She wanted to kill him. She wanted to eat him. See if she got her power that way. But when she closed her fingers around his little throat, he just smiled up at her with the smile that babies have offered their mothers for 1,000,000 years. And she melted. She was helpless in the face of him. All she could do was feed him from the milk of her own breast and plot his destruction. And sing him the lullaby that ever after has been known as the lullaby of the witch to the infant Jack. Tell me, how shall I kill ye, my own darling baby? Tell me, how shall I kill ye, my flesh and my flower? Shall I hang you from the tall trees so the pretty small birdies shall peck out your greedy eyes for stealing my power? Tell me, how shall I kill ye, my own darling baby? Tell me, how shall I kill ye, my flesh and my flower? Shall I cut you up and fry ye, so all must deny ye, and I may repay ye for stealing my power? Now I know how I'll kill ye, my own darling baby. I'll seal ye in a leathern bag and cast ye on the tide, so that only the ocean in its vast endless motion shall tell what's become of my power and my pride. So that only the ocean in its vast endless motion shall tell what's become of my power and my pride. So that's what she did. She went to a place where some men were killing hogs, and she begged the birth sack of an old sow, brought it back, placed baby Jack inside, sealed it over with pitch, and brought it to the beach at low tide. laid him there among the stones, turned her back and walked away, saying, I know not what became of him. But we do. The sea came in and picked it up and carried him away, carried him far, carried him long, for 7 long years on the bosom of the sea. And Jack, with all the wisdom and knowledge and healing and power in the world intact inside of him, just absorbed nutrients from the sea itself and grew within the bag as the bag stretched to fit. Until finally, the bag cast Jack up on the shore of a new world. Jack fought his way out, stood up, reached his hands to the sun, opened his eyes, and was flooded with light. And as he stood there, trying to remember how to use his eyes, there rose from the bag behind him another form, just like Jack, in every particular, except one critical detail. It was the least gal, Jack's twin, his familiar, his true love and his eternal friend. And before Jack could turn around, she had scampered down the beach, that scamp, and disappeared. And that's how Jack and the least gal came to America. And they've been seeking their fortunes and each other ever since. With all the knowledge, all the healing, all the power, and all the stories in the world intact inside of them, Jack and the least gal. They're in the world, but not of the world. And the stories are in them and of them, but also of the world and of the world beyond the world. And in the stories are root and branch, seed and stem, boat and birth sack of transportation to carry us home. I'll tell you a story about Jack and Nori, and now my story's begun. I'll tell you another about Jack and his lover, and now my story